Well, my first connection was trying to sell pecans. When I bought my first orchard, I really didn't know how to harvest pecans. I didn't know about selling pecans, but eventually I harvested pecans and went to sell. And I learned right there that's not a good way to sell pecans. You don't show up with a trailer load of pecans without negotiating a price or anything. And so it didn't work out too well for me. So I definitely needed some guidance. After that, I learned about the pecan short course and at A&M, and I went to it, and that's the best step I did. And I also get that question a lot. I think that's the best step a person new to the pecan industry, that's the best step they can do, is go to that pecan course, because it introduces you to people that don't necessarily want to make money off of you. Okay, you get to meet real educators, scientists, people that make a living learning how pecan trees grow and act, and learning how pecans grow and act. And you also get to meet other people that are new to the industry, that are in the same boat you are, as well as other experienced growers, because experienced growers also attend the short course to get updated on the education and the changes in the industry. So that's a great place to meet people. That is also where I found out about the Texas Pecan Growers Association. The TPGA did a presentation at the short course, and I decided to join the TPGA at the short course, and have been a member since. So that opened up a whole new opportunity to meet people and get educated, because there's two main things that come out of that. One, of course, is the conference. The conference is an assembly of a lot of people. In fact, that's one of the hard things about it. There's so many people, and they tend to subgroup because they know each other. They tend to subgroup in maybe size of grower or type of business or something like that. But still, there are a lot of people there that you can get to know and learn from. The key at the conference is to not be afraid to ask questions. In fact, anytime, if you're at the short course, if you're at the conference, if you're at a field day, or you're just around other growers, don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people are afraid to ask questions because they think they might be bothering the other people, or they might feel stupid asking a question. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time when you ask questions to experienced people, and nearly all the time you ask an educator, they want to hear the question, they want to help you learn. And in fact, growers are usually excited to share their experience with new growers because they like growing pecans. So the other source of information I've mentioned several times is field days. Go to those field days. They're local. They tend to be much smaller and informal. It might be 15 or 20 or 30 people, but usually those are your local people that know the local problems. And again, the educators, the extension people, come in and do a really good presentation on the basics, zinc and fertilizer and irrigation and pecan nut case bearer and weevil and things of that nature. But timing is everything on all of those subjects, and talking to local people about how they schedule those events is very important. The obvious things are go to the conference, go to the field days, and read about people. But really what you need to do, or what I have found success in doing, is meeting people, talking to them. But you have to go the extra step. The way to do it is to call them and talk to them. Most people will talk to you about their operations. And that can be extremely varied topics. I was talking to a guy the other day about ground covers. What does he use on the orchard floor to feed nitrogen to the soil? Or you can talk about equipment, but you can network through the TPGA, find people in your area, and just make contact with them, or get on some kind of a texting or Facebook or something like that to know what's going on. So recently a group really kind of throughout the state we had a big texting group that talked about the progression of pecan nut case bearer. So we were all reporting trap catches, and you would put your county on there so the other people would know what part of the state you were in, so you could see how the pecan nut case bearer progressed through the state, and who was catching them, who was seeing them when they were scouting, and any damage reports, and whether or not they were going to spray. So there's a lot of ways to network electronically these days. I'm certainly no expert on them, but the key is to make contact with people in your area and talk and visit and go see them and have them come see you. So I think the first one that is necessary to understand is time waits for no one. So no matter what the stage of your orchard is, you need to have a plan that describes how you're going to manage your orchard, such as an irrigation plan, a plan for irrigation. Do you have a system or do you need a system? You need a system that can get water to your trees. There are complicated systems that can water a lot of trees without a water well that can put out a lot of gallons per minute. But anyway, work out how you're going to get water to your trees and make sure you can do it. That's really key. So good soil, good irrigation system is really key. The other tool is use the information available to you to pick the right varieties for your area. Don't plant a scab-prone variety in a place that you have a lot of scab pressure, things like that. But other tools are literally the tools of the trade. It's important that you buy good equipment and that you understand how it works. And that means it's a good idea to understand how to fix your own equipment, because it's going to break down on you, and farm equipment only breaks when you need it. Okay, so real important that you get the skills to fix your own equipment. Welding's always a good skill. You don't have to know how to weld, but that's a good skill, just mechanic skills and things of that nature. But really, back to the time waits for no one, you have to irrigate on time. You have to spray on time. And so when you spray, the next thing you have to do is learn what chemicals are you going to spray. And one of the tools there is, again, Pecan South or TPGA website or extension, and use those spray plans that the professionals have researched and recommended. And they will often tell you what chemicals, what chemical name to use, and when to spray it. So if you don't do that, if you don't get your all of your management done on time, your trees are going to suffer, and they won't wait for you. So if you want to get maximum growth, like this little tree here, this is a 2-year tree, and we have attempted to do everything on time and in the right quantities, and you can see it's growing very rapidly. If you don't do those things, your trees will be slow, you will be slow to production, and it's a matter of getting things done on time. Okay, if you're new to the industry or you want to get started, this is what can happen if you get started and do it right. So if you have the land and you have the water and you have the will to work, because it takes a lot of work, then you get it planned and get it planted and start managing it. I remember when I sat in my first short course, the teachers showed pictures of orchards like these, and I sat there and I said, man, I want one of those. I wish I could have one of those. So we planted trees and we made it happen. And so these trees are 14 years old, in full production. The ones on the left are Caddo, the ones on the right are Pawnee generally. And so they've been in production several years now. So if you're thinking about it, you get excited about it and plant them. Now this orchard we planted on 50-foot centers, so we didn't want to have to hedge the trees. So you need to have that. You need to have that consideration, whether or not you want to hedge trees. That's a hard thing to do if you don't have the equipment. But I planted another orchard that's on 50-foot centers, and they're gonna have to be hedged. So they do get big, and they get big fast if they have the things they want. So if you're new or you want to get started, lay out your orchard, lay out your irrigation, make sure you have the water, have the irrigation put in before you plant the trees. That's a mistake a lot of people make, is they plant the trees first and then they don't have water for them, and the trees stand there and suffer, and your percent of survival goes down and your growth goes down. So irrigation first, then the trees. And remember, be prepared to cage them if you have deer, and be prepared to have the equipment to mow. And you need to understand how to train trees, which they teach you in the class, and do what they say. Do what the extension agents say, and you will be successful. I tested that. I went off on my own one time, and I got into trouble. So I came back to what they were teaching, and then we were successful. If you're new to pecans, or you're wondering how to sell pecans, I can give you a few pointers. First of all, selling pecans is a difficult job. There's a lot of people out there that will compete for them, although sometimes there's not good competition and you end up with having to get rid of your stock at low prices, which is not good. So one way to help yourself is to grade your pecans. Learn how to grade your pecans. You need to know how many nuts per pound, and you also need to know your percent kernel. So learn how to do that, and a good way to learn how to do that is to enter pecans into the pecan show, the county pecan show. So if you enter into your county, or you now have at-large applications too. But anyway, you can enter the pecan show, and that forces you to select good pecans. You need to develop a system where you can select the best pecans to put into the show, and then go to the pecan shows, especially the state pecan show, and learn what it takes to grow really good pecans, and learn what a really good pecan is. When you grade pecans and you're talking to a buyer and you're using the right jargon, then you have much better credibility with the buyer. So learn how to grade pecans, and that'll help you sell pecans.